In the heart of London, the ancient walls of Buckingham Palace stood with majestic calm. The city buzzed with its usual rhythm, car horns, chatter, and distant sirens. But inside the palace gates, time seemed to move slower, thick with tradition and secrets. Prince Harry, though young in years, had already endured the weight of expectations. His days were filled with royal duties, diplomatic meetings, and the occasional escapade into the city under disguise. Yet beneath the crown's shimmer lay a restless heart, a sense that something unseen was stirring. On one crisp autumn morning, while walking through the palace gardens, Harry noticed an old man watching him from beyond the iron gates. Dressed in tattered robes with a hood concealing most of his face, the figure held no weapons, but his eyes, cold, gray, and piercing, seemed to burn through the prince's soul. "Another protester?" Harry murmured to his guard. "No, Your Highness. He's been standing there since dawn." The guard replied uneasily. Curious and perhaps a bit defiant, Harry stepped forward himself. The man spoke with a voice like broken stone. "You do not know it yet, but John Goodman walks toward you. The strength you think protects you will shatter unless you learn to break it first." Harry froze. "What are you talking about? Who are you?" But the old man turned and vanished into the crowd before another word could be uttered. The guards chased after him, but he was gone, swallowed by London's morning fog. That night, Prince Harry couldn't shake the encounter. The name John Goodman echoed in his mind. He had heard it before, whispered in royal war archives, buried in family stories. Goodman had once been a celebrated protector of the crown, until he turned against it. Rumors said he was exiled after attempting to overthrow the Queen's secret council. Some claimed he was dead. Others believed he had made a pact with forces beyond nature, trading honor for power. "Why now?" Harry asked aloud in his chambers, looking out over the city. The Queen called him for a private meeting the next day. "You've been warned," she said grimly, pouring tea with hands that trembled ever so slightly. "You know about this John Goodman?" Harry pressed. "I knew him before he fell," she said softly. "He was once your father's most trusted ally." "And now he wants to destroy us?" "No," she corrected, eyes sharp. "Now he wants to test us. You, specifically." "Me?" "He believes strength is inherited, that royal blood has become soft, undeserving. He's coming to see if you're a pretender or a protector." That night, alone in the palace library, Harry dug deep into classified archives. John Goodman had once been titled the Iron Wall, a man said to have wrestled beasts with his bare hands and survived battles where armies fell. But his strength wasn't just brute. It was believed he'd discovered ancient rituals, old energy lines under England's soil, and learned how to bind them to his body. "No wonder they banished him," Harry whispered. A shadow passed over the moon. Somewhere, in the silent corners of the palace, the air turned colder. The warning had arrived just in time. The war hadn't begun, but Prince Harry now knew. A storm was coming, and it carried the face of a forgotten legend. To survive, he would need to discover his own strength, one that wasn't in swords or shields, but in something deeper. The battle for the soul of the kingdom had already started. Far beyond the royal walls of Buckingham, deep in the underbelly of northern Scotland's jagged highlands, a man stood barefoot atop a cliff, his arms raised to the sky as a cold wind howled around him. John Goodman had returned. He was no longer the polished war hero the nation remembered from dusty books and half-forgotten tales. His body, once regal in armor, was now rugged, cloaked in weather-worn fabrics. Muscles rippled beneath his skin like coiled steel, and his eyes burned with ancient knowledge, eyes that had seen kingdoms rise and fall. At his feet, drawn into the stones with chalk made from dragon bone dust, was a circle covered in runes. He chanted softly, a forgotten language lost to time, and the runes began to glow. As the wind surged, John's arms trembled, and then stillness. The mountain seemed to hold its breath, and when the chant ended, he smiled. "They've grown soft. He's not ready," he whispered to the silence. In Buckingham, Prince Harry sat in the war room, surrounded by ancient scrolls, intel dossiers, and eerie silence. His friend and palace historian, Arthur Crowley, had joined him, one of the few trusted minds who dared speak plainly around royalty. "Why didn't anyone ever speak of John Goodman openly?" Harry asked, flipping through a leather-bound volume marked Classified Shadow Knights. "Because he represents what the royal bloodline fears most," Crowley answered. "A man who knew all our secrets and then chose to reject the system. He believed true strength belonged to those who earned it, not inherited it." "And he's not just some angry exile," Harry muttered. "He's preparing something." Crowley nodded. He always believed that deep under the British Isles, a force older than the monarchy itself slept, energy that could grant godlike strength to one who unlocked it. Harry scoffed. "Magic? Come on." "It's not just magic," Crowley said. "It's ancient science, symbology, geology, energy lines, frequencies. He once cracked a code hidden beneath Stonehenge, and now he's hunting for the last node." Harry rubbed his face. "So what does he want? To rule?" "Number he wants to prove. Prove that the crown has lost its strength, and that means he'll come for you." Just then, a red alert chimed from the palace security console. A royal checkpoint on the outskirts of Windsor had gone dark. No communication, no video, only silence. Harry bolted upright. That's not a coincidence. Within hours, he and a small team arrived by stealth chopper to the checkpoint. Now a ruined outpost, the gates twisted like wire, the ground cracked beneath burnt symbols. A royal guard stumbled out, blood on his temple. "It wasn't human," the guard gasped. "He walked through the fire. He didn't even speak. He just looked at me and I couldn't move." "Goodman," Harry whispered. Back at the palace, the Queen summoned Harry again. "We cannot hide this anymore. It's begun. You need to prepare, not just as a prince, but as a warrior." "But how? I've had training, yes, but he's—" "Not just a man anymore," she interrupted, "which means you can't face him as just a man either." She opened a hidden vault behind the throne, revealing a sealed iron box, engraved with the royal crest and a single word, Pendragon. "Your ancestors left you more than a crown," she said solemnly. "It's time you learned what it means to truly wear it." As Goodman disappeared deeper into the countryside, leaving behind scorched earth and fear, Prince Harry stepped into the secret training chambers below Buckingham. The old world and the new were about to collide, and only one would emerge stronger. The iron vault doors groaned as they sealed behind Prince Harry, shutting him into the hidden chambers deep beneath Buckingham Palace. The flickering lights cast long shadows over stone walls carved centuries ago, each brick bearing the burden of royal legacy. Here, the air felt heavier, colder, older. In the center of the chamber stood an aged figure clad in black and gold armor, his head bowed slightly. His name was Sir Aldrich Vale, a once legendary knight who had disappeared from public life years ago. Most thought he had died in quiet retirement, but the Queen had kept him hidden, preparing for the day the royal bloodline would be tested again. That day had come. "So," Sir Aldrich said, his voice low but steady, "the boy with the crown finally chooses to become a man." "I didn't choose this," Harry replied. "He's forcing my hand." "Then thank him," Aldrich snapped, "because until now you were nothing more than a symbol. Now you must become something real." Harry looked around. Weapons of every kind lined the walls, blades, bows, even ancient artifacts sealed behind runes. Yet none of them drew his attention like the sword resting on the stone pedestal at the center of the room. It pulsed faintly, wrapped in red cloth embroidered with dragons. "Is that—" "The Blade of Albion," Aldrich confirmed, "forged by your ancestor Edward the Bold in the 1300s, quenched in the waters of Avalon, and bound to the will of its heir. It chooses its wielder, and it hasn't chosen in 200 years." Harry stepped forward, placing his hand on the cloth. It was warm. "You will not wield that blade until you prove yourself," Aldrich warned. "First, you must understand that true strength isn't in steel. It's in resolve, discipline, sacrifice." Thus began Harry's secret training. Every morning before dawn, he was woken by the clang of a war bell. Physical combat drills, blindfolded sparring, archery from horseback, breathing techniques to still the mind. Even meditation beside ancient sigils said to amplify spiritual focus. But Aldrich was brutal. He berated Harry when he faltered. He mocked him when his punches lacked conviction. Yet in those crucibles of humiliation and sweat, something inside Harry began to shift. "You're fighting like a prince," Aldrich barked one morning, knocking Harry's staff from his hands. "Not like someone who's bled, not like someone who's lost." "What do you want me to do?" Harry shouted, frustrated. "I've never had to fight someone like Goodman. I don't know how to beat him." Aldrich stepped forward, eyes like iron. "Then you must fight yourself first. You are not just facing Goodman's strength, you're facing every weakness you've carried, every doubt, every moment you hid behind your title. Break that, and you'll begin to understand power." Later that night, Harry sat alone in the training chamber. He unwrapped the Sword of Albion slowly. Its silver sheen glimmered under torchlight. He didn't lift it. He just looked. "What makes you so special?" he murmured. "You were meant for a warrior, not a boy playing soldier." Suddenly, the sword emitted a low hum, as if responding to his honesty. The next morning, Aldrich found Harry in a battle stance, eyes calm and fierce, waiting without being called. "Good," the knight said. "Now we begin for real." Meanwhile, miles away, John Goodman stood in a hidden monastery of stone, surrounded by black-cloaked figures murmuring chants in unison. In the center of the room lay a massive slab of obsidian. Goodman placed his hands on it and closed his eyes. "He's preparing," he whispered. "But it won't be enough." The obsidian cracked. A red light spilled out. The battle was drawing closer. The city of Manchester bustled with its usual energy. Markets alive, students rushing across campus, street performers playing under the shadow of high-rise buildings. But amid the noise and normalcy, something ancient and unsettling moved quietly through the crowd. John Goodman had arrived. Disguised in a worn trench coat and wide-brimmed hat, he stepped into the old city auditorium, where Prince Harry was scheduled to give a public speech on the future of youth leadership. To the common people, it was just another royal appearance. To Goodman, it was the stage for a declaration of war. In the palace war chamber earlier that day, Harry had been briefed by Arthur Crowley and Sir Aldrich. They had intercepted faint signals, energy surges consistent with Goodman's activity patterns, leading them to suspect he was nearby. "He won't attack directly," Crowley warned. "He'll wait for the crowd. He wants witnesses. He wants fear." Harry nodded, adjusting the cuff of his suit. He wasn't wearing armor, but beneath his formal clothes was a hidden layer of lightweight, rune-etched protective weave, a gift from Aldrich. And at his side, in a disguised black leather case, rested a short blade laced with fragments of Albion steel, just in case. As Harry stepped on stage, the crowd erupted in applause. He spoke confidently, his voice projecting strength. "Our generation is not one of weakness. We do not inherit power. We earn it together." Applause again. But from the second row, a single figure remained still, unmoved. Goodman. He stood slowly. No words, no announcement. Just a glare that locked with Harry's across the hall. Harry paused mid-sentence. His instincts screamed. The temperature in the room dropped as Goodman took a step forward. The crowd sensed it too, the sudden shift in pressure, like the calm before a storm. Then Goodman spoke. "Tell them the truth, boy." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Security moved in, but Goodman raised one hand, and the metal detectors at the entrance exploded in sparks, freezing the guards in place. Harry gripped the lectern. Truth about what? That this land is no longer protected by kings or queens. That strength has left your bloodline. That you, he said, stepping closer, are nothing more than a child hiding behind broken symbols. Whispers turned into panic. People began rising, some fleeing the exits, others too stunned to move. Harry stepped away from the podium, eyes narrowed. "You want to fight? Not here. Not with civilians." Goodman smiled. "I didn't come here to fight. I came to measure your spirit, and you've already told me everything I need to know." Then, in one fluid motion, Goodman hurled a black coin-sized object toward the ceiling. It exploded into a pulse of red smoke, forming ancient symbols in midair. A warning, a countdown. 3 days, he said, voice low and deadly. "Meet me at the stone vaults of Glencairn, or your crown falls without a sword raised." And just like that, he vanished, melted into shadow and smoke before anyone could catch him. Back at the palace, the Queen paced, fists clenched. "He's escalating." "He wants the duel to be public," Crowley said. "He wants to be seen crushing the royal bloodline." Sir Aldrich turned to Harry. "You must go. If you don't, he will break the people's faith without ever swinging a blade." Harry nodded. "Then I'll go. Not to defend a crown, but to prove it still has a heart." And so the first encounter had ended, not in battle, but in challenge. The true test was now set. In 3 days' time, beneath the ancient stone vaults, prince and renegade would stand face to face again. But only one would walk away with strength intact. The warning echoed far beyond the Manchester auditorium. Within hours of John Goodman's dramatic appearance, footage flooded social media. Millions watched, rewatched, and speculated. The ancient symbols swirling in red smoke. The bold declaration. The royal guards frozen in place. And the eerie silence that followed. Goodman hadn't just challenged a prince. He had challenged an entire system. And the world was watching. Inside the palace, tensions rose like floodwaters. The Queen called an emergency session of the Inner Circle, her most trusted advisors. Intelligence officers, military commanders, spiritual consultants, and royal historians, all gathered in the shadowed chamber beneath Buckingham's West Wing. "He's positioning himself not as a villain, but as a reformer," Arthur Crowley said grimly. "To the world, he's David standing against the Goliath of monarchy." "And worse," General Holland added, "he's gaining sympathy. Some see him as a voice of rebellion, of justice, especially among those who think the crown has grown distant." Prince Harry listened in silence. He had watched the video himself a dozen times, studying Goodman's movements, voice, posture, every gesture calculated, every word meant to sway public perception. "What if I don't show up?" Harry asked. The Queen shook her head. "Then he wins, without even raising his hand." Sir Aldrich, leaning against the chamber wall in full training armor, added quietly, "This is not just about who strikes harder. It's about belief. If the people believe your blood is weak, it becomes weak. Goodman understands this. He wants to break your will, so that the throne breaks with it." Harry exhaled. The pressure was suffocating. He was no longer just preparing to face a man. He was carrying the burden of a legacy centuries old, now threatened by a ghost from its own past. Meanwhile, throughout the United Kingdom, whispers turned to unrest. Pro-Goodman graffiti began appearing in London alleys. Strength is earned, not born. Underground news outlets released unverified stories about Goodman's exile, suggesting he had been betrayed, not disloyal. Some called for Harry to step down, to avoid violence. Others demanded he fight, to defend what's left of honor. But Goodman was not just gaining public momentum, he was also expanding his network. In the Scottish Highlands, strange energy pulses were being tracked by defense satellites. Goodman's followers, cloaked in ceremonial robes, were seen performing ancient rites at key locations once believed to be dormant ley lines, places of powerful, buried energy. The vaults of Glencairn, where he had called for the duel, sat directly atop the strongest of them. "He's not just challenging me," Harry said during a late-night meeting with Crowley and Aldrich. "He's feeding off the fear, using the old energies like fuel." "And he wants you to feel isolated," Aldrich said, "to believe you're standing alone." Harry nodded slowly. "Then I'll prove him wrong." The next day, Harry made a televised address, his first unscripted public statement since the Manchester incident. "I was born into legacy, yes, but I never asked for it. I never believed a title should protect a man from responsibility. That's why I will meet John Goodman face to face, not as a prince, not as a symbol, but as a man, one who chooses to stand, even when the ground is shaking beneath him." The broadcast went viral in minutes. Public sentiment began to shift. Not fully, but enough. As the countdown to Glencairn ticked down, Prince Harry stood alone in his chambers, staring at the Albion blade resting on the velvet stand. His hand hovered over it, and this time, when he grasped the hilt, the sword did not resist. It pulsed, and it glowed. The bloodline had not been broken. Not yet. 2 days before the duel, the palace was alive with movement and unease. While the world's eyes remained fixated on the approaching confrontation at the stone vaults of Glencairn, Prince Harry knew the true battle would not be won by blade alone. He needed unity and trust. He summoned a select council into the Echo Hall, a secure, shielded chamber once used during wartime. Gathered around the stone table were key figures: Arthur Crowley, the ever-watchful historian; General Holland, commander of the Royal Guard; Sir Aldrich, his mentor; and a new face, Commander Elara Drake of the Royal Reconnaissance Corps. "We don't have the numbers Goodman does," Harry began, "but we have the knowledge, the land, and the loyalty of those who still believe in truth over fear." Elara nodded. "We've intercepted transmissions from Goodman's forces. They've activated something beneath Glencairn. We think it's a resonance field. Amplifies energy in whoever commands it." "A power source," Crowley muttered, eyes wide. "That's why he wanted it. He's not just staging a duel. He's becoming something more." Sir Aldrich leaned forward. "Then you can't just fight him. You must disrupt that power." "But how?" Harry asked. Before Crowley could answer, General Holland cleared his throat. "There's something you need to see, Your Highness." He placed a tablet on the table, showing satellite footage from 3 nights earlier, Goodman's robed followers meeting with a tall figure in the forest. The video enhanced his face. Harry's heart sank. It was Commander Gregory Lane, once Harry's personal guard, a trusted family protector. "He was my father's friend," Harry said bitterly. "He sat at my table." "He's been leaking intel," Holland confirmed. "For months. Goodman has his claws deeper than we realized." Harry felt a surge of betrayal. Lane had trained with him, fought beside him, even comforted him after his mother's death anniversary. And now, he had sold royal secrets to a man trying to destroy the crown from the roots. We believe he's told Goodman about your training. Your blade, even the Sword of Albion, Alara added. You'll face him at a disadvantage. Sir Aldrich stood. Then we changed the game. The room fell silent. I've trained Harry in the ways of the old guard, but there's more. Rituals not just of power, but of protection. If we can reach Glencairn's core first, we may be able to weaken the energy field before the duel. But it's protected by Goodman's cult, Alara warned. We'd need a diversion. Harry spoke with quiet certainty. Then I'll give him one. Everyone looked up. You're going to walk in through the front? Aldrich asked. Yes, Harry said. He wants me to feel isolated. But I want him to believe I've walked into his trap. While I face him, you disable his power. Crowley narrowed his eyes. A dangerous play. Every choice I've made until now was sheltered, Harry replied. This time, I choose the fire. Later that night, Harry walked alone through the royal stables, the moonlight painting silver paths across the earth. He approached his horse, Midnight, a black stallion gifted to him in his teens, and quietly whispered, "It's time." But as he prepared to leave, a voice echoed from the shadows, "You won't make it to Glencairn." It was Commander Lane. Emerging from the trees in dark battle gear, he raised a blade, not of steel, but obsidian laced with red veins, pulsing like veins. "You've already lost," Lane growled. Harry drew the fragment-forged sword at his side. "Then I'll prove you wrong." And beneath the stars of royal grounds, the prince faced his first true betrayal. Not from a stranger, but from someone he once called family. The clash of steel shattered the midnight silence as Prince Harry met Commander Lane's obsidian blade. Sparks flew in the moonlight. The hidden duel on royal ground was fast, brutal, and personal. "You were like a brother to my father," Harry shouted as he parried a vicious strike. "Why would you betray everything he stood for?" Lane's eyes were cold, detached. "Your father stood for the old world. Goodman offers something better, order through strength. The monarchy is a relic. You're just a symbol waiting to collapse." Harry's blade, though lighter and smaller, glowed faintly with Albion's blessing. Every time he deflected a blow, the rune-forged edge hummed with resonance. Still, Lane was trained, enhanced by dark energy drawn from Goodman's rituals. His strikes were relentless, unnatural, like something more than human. Harry staggered as Lane's blade grazed his shoulder, drawing blood, burning like fire. "You're not ready," Lane hissed. "You'll die at Glencairn." But then, with grit and sudden clarity, Harry twisted beneath a heavy swing, swept Lane's leg, and delivered a hard punch to his chest, knocking the wind from his lungs. With one final motion, he disarmed Lane and held his sword to the traitor's throat. "I may not be perfect," Harry said, breath ragged, "but I choose to stand, and that's more than you'll ever understand." He didn't kill him. Instead, he bound Lane and handed him over to Alara's elite unit. Put him in containment. No one else leaves the palace without clearance. No more surprises. By dawn, Harry and his team rode toward the Scottish Highlands. The duel at Glencairn was only hours away. The landscape grew harsher with every mile. Cold winds slicing through the valleys, mist curling around ancient stones. Hidden beneath the hills were the stone vaults, once thought to be burial chambers, now known as an ancient power nexus. Goodman had chosen his battleground well. From a hilltop outpost, Alara signaled back, "The outer vault perimeter is guarded. No visible weapons, but energy fields, similar to what Crowley warned about." In the distance, the stone vaults of Glencairn loomed, massive slabs of black stone forming a ring around a central altar. Red glyphs pulsed in rhythm with a low, steady hum from underground. The land itself seemed to be alive. Sir Aldrich turned to Harry. "This is your crucible, but remember, while he controls the field, you control the narrative. Make him doubt his strength. Break his certainty." Harry nodded. "And what about the energy core?" "Alara's team will reach it through the undertunnels. If we can disrupt the resonance node, Goodman's power will drop." "Then we all have our parts to play," Harry said. "Let's end this." As the sun dipped behind the hills, Prince Harry entered the vaults alone. Goodman stood at the center, bare-chested, covered in black war paint, a red crystal embedded in the center of his chest, glowing with raw energy. Around him, his followers chanted, their voices low and ancient. "On time," Goodman said with a smirk. "I expected you to run." "I don't run," Harry replied calmly, stepping into the stone circle. "You've brought a sword to a god's battlefield," Goodman chuckled, stretching his arms. "This land, this power, answers to me now. When I strike, the mountain will crack. When I speak, the sky will answer. You are nothing but a shadow." Harry unsheathed his sword slowly. The Albion blade glimmered, its runes flaring to life. "Then let's see what happens when a shadow refuses to fade." Goodman charged. Their blades met with a blast that shook the earth. Above them, the storm gathered. Below them, Alara's team raced through the dark tunnels toward the energy core. And around them, history held its breath. The breaking point had arrived. The first strike had shattered the ground beneath them. Stone cracked. Dust exploded. The very air trembled as Prince Harry and John Goodman collided in the center of the ancient vault. Goodman, powered by the red crystal embedded in his chest, moved with supernatural force, each punch landing like thunder, each movement unnaturally fast. But Harry held his ground. The Albion blade, humming with ancestral energy, deflected blow after blow. Its glow pulsed stronger with every heartbeat, resonating with something deep within the earth. "You're stronger than I expected," Goodman growled, circling. "But you're still bound by fear." "I'm not afraid of you," Harry replied, panting. "I'm afraid of failing the people who believe in me." Goodman lunged, striking with brutal precision. Harry blocked, twisted, countered, but the sheer power behind Goodman's strikes sent him skidding across the stone platform. Blood trickled from his lip. Deep beneath the platform, Alara and her team pushed through the narrow tunnels of the vault's core. They reached a massive underground chamber lit by flickering red light, the resonance node. At its center, ancient machinery, stone gears, copper coils, and veins of glowing crystal, spun slowly, fed by the energy of the land. "This is it," Alara said. "This is what's amplifying Goodman." Crowley, panting beside her, studied the glyphs. "If we disrupt the alignment of the core, we can collapse the amplification field. But there's risk. If we break it wrong, the entire vault could implode." Above ground, Goodman slammed Harry into a stone pillar. "This blade doesn't belong to you," he spat, kicking it from Harry's hand. The sword skidded across the ground, landing near an ancient circular engraving, half buried in dust. Goodman raised his hand. The red crystal in his chest flared, and a surge of energy launched toward Harry like a cannon blast. In that instant, Harry rolled, grabbed the sword, and slammed it into the center of the engraved circle. The earth paused. With a deep thrum, the ground responded. The glyphs on the stone lit up in golden light, spreading from the sword like a web of fire. Goodman recoiled. "What have you done?" The Albion blade had awakened its full form, not just a weapon, but a key tied to the foundations of the ancient power beneath Glen Cairn. As the energy field shifted, Alara and Crowley watched in awe. The resonance core faltered. Red light flickered. Goodman's amplification began to collapse. "He's doing it," Crowley whispered. "He's forcing the node into feedback." Goodman stumbled, weakened. "No, no, I've waited too long. You won't take this from me." But Harry wasn't done. The sword in his hand began to change, its edge becoming longer, the hilt sprouting radiant etchings unseen before. A voice, not spoken but felt, echoed in Harry's mind. "Only the worthy may command balance over strength." Goodman charged once more, screaming, "You are not worthy." Harry stood firm, the sword of the ancients now fully awakened in his hand. He met Goodman's fury head-on, blade slicing through energy, breaking through the crystal's defenses. A single strike landed, clean, decisive. The red crystal cracked, then shattered. The ground beneath them exploded with light as the energy rushed out of Goodman's body and was pulled back into the vault's core, now collapsing inward. Goodman screamed, clutching his chest. The glow faded. His strength drained. He fell to his knees. "It's over," Harry said quietly. But the vault wasn't finished yet. With the amplification node destabilized, the stone vault began to quake violently. Alara's voice crackled through Harry's earpiece. "You have 60 seconds. The whole place is coming down." Harry grabbed the fallen Goodman and threw his arm over his shoulder. "We leave together." "You would save me," Goodman rasped. "No," Harry said, "but I'll save the part of you that once protected this kingdom." And as the vault of Glencairn began to collapse, prince and traitor fled the storm they had awakened, together. The skies above Glencairn screamed with thunder. As Prince Harry and the weakened John Goodman emerged from the crumbling vault, the entire mountain shuddered. Massive stones fell behind them. Flames and energy surged from the earth in streaks of red and gold. The resonance node had collapsed, its magic unbound and returning to the land. Alara and her strike team waved Harry toward an extraction path carved along the ridge. "We have a route through the forest," she shouted. "We must go now." But Harry didn't move. Goodman, slumped beside him, coughed violently. "It wasn't supposed to end like this," he rasped. Harry looked at him with cold clarity. "You were willing to burn the kingdom down just to prove a point." "I was willing to burn it to make it stronger," Goodman growled, "to build something better than the lies your ancestors left behind, a world ruled by merit, not bloodlines." Harry turned away for a moment, gazing out across the scarred landscape. "Then why seek power alone? Why command fear instead of trust? You didn't come to build, you came to break." Sir Aldrich approached from the edge of the cliff, bruised and winded, but still upright. "The storm isn't over yet," he warned. Goodman's ritual didn't just amplify strength, it unlocked something else. As if on cue, the clouds above twisted into a vortex. Crimson light burst through the sky like veins across the heavens. From the cracked vault behind them, a creature emerged. Amorphous, shifting, made of the raw energy Goodman had stolen. It shrieked, a sound older than human memory. The pure rage of the earth awakened. Crowley's voice crackled over the comms. "That's not Goodman's doing. That's what he unleashed." Goodman stared in horror. It wasn't supposed to take form. It was just supposed to obey. The creature lunged. Harry pushed Goodman aside and stood between the entity and the retreating team, sword raised. The ancient blade pulsed, brighter than ever. Its golden runes shimmered like lightning in his hands. Sir Aldrich joined him, drawing a rune-etched dagger. "One last fight, eh, Your Highness?" Harry grinned, even as the storm bore down. "Let's make it count." The creature slammed into the earth, its body swirling like liquid fire. With a battle cry, Harry leapt forward, his blade slashing across its core. Aldrich followed with precise cuts, carving into the symbols etched across its body. Each strike caused the creature to scream, but its form reknitted, fed by the still swirling storm above. "We're not going to last long," Aldrich called out. Harry remembered the words whispered by the blade. "Only the worthy may command balance over strength." He dropped to one knee, plunging the sword into the ground. Light erupted outward in a dome, forming a barrier around the team. "Crowley!" Harry shouted through the comms. "What was the vault built to contain?" "The Earth's rage," Crowley answered. "Its punishment. The old kings buried it under layers of ritual and oath. Goodman's ritual shattered those seals." Harry closed his eyes. "Then I need to finish what they started." He began to chant, words he didn't understand, but that came to him as if carried on the wind. The runes on the sword burned, white-hot. The creature screeched, charging toward the barrier, but as it touched the dome of light, it howled in agony. The energy tethered to the Albion blade was pulling it back, restoring balance. "Keep it focused on me," Harry roared. Aldrich hurled his dagger into the heart of the beast one final time, then dove aside. The sword flashed once, twice, then exploded in a column of gold, piercing the sky. The creature's scream faded into silence. The light dimmed. When the dust settled, the creature was gone. The sky cleared, and Prince Harry still stood, holding the hilt of the now dormant sword. The battle was over. Behind him, Goodman knelt defeated, not by blade, but by the sight of what real strength looked like. Not destruction, but restoration. The smoke from the mountain had faded. What remained was silence, deep, sacred, and still. The kind of silence that comes only after something ancient has passed. Above the shattered stone vaults of Glencairn, the sky was blue again, streaked only with soft drifting clouds. The storm was over. Prince Harry stood alone, the hilt of the Albion blade still clutched in his hand. Its glow had vanished, its power returned to the land. The blade had fulfilled its purpose. It would no longer hum with energy or light the night. It had become a memory, a legend once more. Behind him, the others emerged from the forests and ridges. Elara, bruised but standing strong. Crowley, his cloak torn and face dusted with ash. And Sir Aldrich leaning on a broken spear like a staff. Even John Goodman walked quietly, head bowed and chains around his wrists, not of iron, but of humility. "You could have killed me," Goodman said, voice hoarse. Harry didn't look back. "You're not my enemy anymore. You're just a man who forgot what strength really is." Goodman dropped his gaze. There were no more comebacks, no more defiance. He had looked into the abyss of his own making and seen what it would have cost. Back in London, the world waited. Cameras surrounded the palace gates. Journalists speculated wildly. Protesters stood beside loyalists. The people had seen only fragments, flashes of red storms, encrypted footage, whispered legends. But when Prince Harry appeared on the palace balcony that evening, dressed not in royal robes, but a simple black tunic with the crest of Albion on his chest, the crowd fell quiet. He spoke without notes. "A man came to challenge me. Not for power, but to test what our legacy meant. He believed our bloodline had become soft, that our throne was built only on tradition and not merit. And I understand why many listened to him, because too often we hide behind history instead of rising to meet the future." He paused, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I stood in fire. I looked into the face of wrath and ambition. And I chose not to destroy, but to restore, because strength is not domination. It is discipline. It is sacrifice. It is choosing mercy when rage is easy. I am not the strongest, but I am willing." The crowd erupted, not just in applause, but in belief. What Harry had earned through blood, courage, and choice now lived in the people. Days passed, then weeks. The Albion blade was returned to its resting place in the sealed vault beneath Buckingham. This time with no locks, no enchantments. It had chosen, and it had been answered. John Goodman was not imprisoned, but exiled again, by his own request. "Let me find peace somewhere the past cannot reach," he said, and Harry agreed. Sir Aldrich returned to the shadows. Ilara was promoted to head of the Royal Guard. Crowley resumed his work in the archives, now with permission to document what had truly occurred. And Harry? He changed the palace itself. He opened its doors for council, for reform. He created the Order of Balance, a new arm of leadership not built on title but on service. He visited every region of the kingdom, speaking not as a ruler but as a man who had walked through fire and come out changed. And though the world would always whisper of Goodman's strength, of the vaults and the storm, history would remember something else. That in a time when the crown was threatened, not by invasion, but by irrelevance, a young prince chose to break the cycle. Not with rage, but with resolve.